So until we open the border and we see where the disposable income for a lot of people are, or income, that's more of an effect than necessarily who wins or loses in the long run.
There's no question that the US election is on the top of a lot of people's minds, even here in Canada. Jason O'Keefe is with us, the CEO of Real Home Experts. And Jason, I wanted to ask you your opinion on the US election as it pertains to Canadian and maybe even in particular Ontario real estate. Do you see there being a connection at all?
Normally we have seen in the past some connection. A lot of things are up in the air, like trade and some other different things. You could be changing from the Republicans to Democrats to Republicans. The issue though, we are seeing more changes in the other issues that are going on in our world, which is COVID. So I don't think it's going to affect us as much, but I do think people are watching.
Yeah, I think the whole world is watching, and no matter what side you sort of lean toward, I think ultimately people want to know, is it really going to affect me, affect us as Canadians? And certainly from a trade perspective, there could be some ramifications there depending on the outcome. From your perspective in real estate, how and what kind of impact does trade have to, let's say, mortgage rates or home prices?
Well, trade as a whole has to do with all of our jobs, whether it's from the auto industry, manufacturing. In Canada, you're looking at the oil, you're looking at a whole bunch of different factors, right? What are we selling down to the US? What's coming north from there, right? Whether it's food costs, there's a lot of different things, being our number one trading partner. This year though, we still have to watch because, one candidate is more buy American than the other one. The other understands worldwide trade a little bit more. So each one has its different goods and bads. I think the last 4 years have been interesting and a lot of Canadians have paid attention. I know it'll be interesting to see it. They're having record voter people coming out, 97% in some states. So I heard the other day, I think we had about 600,000 expats up in Canada. So I think they're definitely, a lot of them might be just waiting to buy or sell right now because they're waiting to see what happens down there. A lot of people moved up north because of who came in 4 years ago. A lot of people moved down there because of who came in. It's different, right? So normally I'd say it does affect us a little bit more, but right now, with all the other world issues going on, I don't think it's going to be as much of a factor. Let
me dig into that a little bit more. And the other factors, obviously the big one is COVID. Where do things stand with regard to COVID? And again, I'm just trying to tie this back to the US election because obviously both candidates see the fixing of this pandemic in a very different way. Does that either or of those options have an impact on real estate long-term?
Well, actually right now you've got to think of, the lack of travel. Most people have a certain amount of disposable income. So they're not necessarily spending as much. People that like to travel, whether it's in Europe or the US, there's a lot more money staying in Canada that way for traveling. At the same time, now we're not having as many, especially in Southern Ontario, you're not having as many tourism this year, especially around the border towns. So that's been an effect on a lot of people that way. And that goes back to a lot of the tourism industry, restaurant base, service industries. That's definitely affected a lot of these people. And again, we're seeing it just, phase 2 back there. So I think until the US has a responsible way of dealing with COVID, or we get vaccinations or vaccines, I think we're going to see that effect on a lot of people that way. Some good because we have more money because we're not traveling, and some bad on some of the first-time homebuyers that now are out of work.
So no matter what side you're leaning toward in terms of your support from afar here as we stand in Canada, it sounds like what you're saying is that if the Democratic candidate was to win the US presidency, that overall would have likely a better impact for us as Canadians as it pertains to real estate.
I would definitely think so. Again, until you get somebody in there and they start getting their hands dirty and fixing some things, it's still not going to be an overnight change. If the Democratic Party wins, the Republicans might fight that. So who knows how long our border could be shut, how long COVID's going to be dealt with, and who's dealing with it, especially in the US as our main trading partner and our main vacation place, is definitely putting an effect on us. So it can help us when a lot more people have more disposable income, so they may have a bigger down payment so they can buy more. A lot of people are spending some of that money in renovating their houses. That is more of an effect. So until we open the border and we see where the disposable income for a lot of people are, or income, that's more of an effect than necessarily who wins or loses in the long run. But for short term, I think until they come up with a better solution for COVID down there and deal with it, hopefully more like we do in Canada, it could have some effect.
really, it's a wait and see approach as our most elections. That's how it
But
works.
this one could be even wait longer.
It's interesting to get your perspective though, Jason, because the whole world obviously is watching this. And what I'm hearing you say is we do have to take a wait and see approach, that there will likely be a different outcome depending on, who wins the US presidency. So we may well have a follow-up conversation to this one. Thank you so much for your insights today.
Thank you very much.